Okay, so hey guys, good morning. Well, I guess whenever you're watching this, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is. Welcome to the first episode of MDM Real Talk. I am Darian.
I'm Marissa.
And I'm Mackenzie.
And yeah, this is MDM Real Talk. So basically, we're going to talk about a topic, whether it be a scenario, maybe a video that is circulating the internet, something that y'all tell us you want to talk about, and we'll just kind of talk because this is what we do anyway. We figured creating like a visual podcast kind of thing would be cool because people like to talk and people like to listen to other people talk about interesting topics. So that's what it is. Y'all want to add anything before we get started?
Also, we decided to make this podcast because we feel like our opinions are a very valued opinion, especially when it comes to big topics like marriage, relationships, even maybe some pop culture things. But so hopefully when you listen to us, maybe something will spark in your mind, or maybe if we cover a topic that is popular, maybe you can get a different perspective on it or see another view from it, and hopefully either maybe change your opinion on things or maybe open your eyes or minds to something new.
Very true. Since it is the morning for us at the moment, let's jump into what we're drinking. What do we have in our cups this morning? I will go first. I have a holiday mug with my initial.
Yes.
We are full up in holiday in this house right now. So I have a coffee this morning with almond milk creamer, pumpkin spice flavored.
Mm.
It's fall up in Florida, even though it's not really fall in Florida.
I'll go next. So I am also rocking the cup of Joe in my love mug because love everybody. Yes. But same concept, going with the fall theme, almond milk creamer, pumpkin spice, hint of sugar, but not too much. I like the natural flavors of coffee and don't dilute the caffeine. And obviously keeping it festive with the Christmas tree in the back, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. Dairy freeness. Loving it.
I will go next. I am drinking water because well, first of all, I drink a lot of water anyway, but especially this morning because last night I indulged in some adult beverages, and so water is even more this morning. So,
yes.
Yep.
Exactly. Always keep the water handy.
Yes. Okay. So let's hop in. Does anybody have anything motivational this morning?
I don't have anything motivational, but I have this that's been in my head all morning since I woke up. And I think it's because it's so gloomy outside today. Disney is a big thing, and if y'all know me, that's my thing. And one of their songs is "It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow." And while it may be gloomy outside or dreary or whatever you're going through, just know that tomorrow is going to be great, big, and beautiful.
I like that.
That is nice.
Okay, cool. It's lit. Nice. All right, let's hop in.
Yes, I have notes. I wrote a whole bunch of notes.
So the topic of discussion today is a video that Darian found on Instagram about not getting married too soon. We can link either in the description of the actual video or clip from the interview, or we can post it during the week. But we came up with some different opinions on it, and we'll get into it.
Cool. I guess I have it. I'll jump in real quick to start us off. I thought the video was very interesting. I'd never heard of this gentleman before. This is the first time I've seen him. I liked his setup, though. I liked it was kind of like a basement-y industrial setting in the video. I hate that I couldn't see the other guy that he was talking to in the video, but I think he touched on a lot of good points. The big one that I was focused on when he was talking about someone who was telling a younger man, no, get married too soon. But it wasn't coming from like a term of endearment, like someone who was caring about him, like, looking out for him. It was more of like, I was in a bad situation and I'm telling you, like, don't get married too soon because these women out here are crazy. And I went through this and I went through that, and how that damages men's perspective on marriage and commitment. And while I think that that is true, if someone like came to you, especially if you were getting ready to get married to someone or wanted to propose, like you were in that moment of your life where like, I'm with the woman I want to be with, I'm headed down that road, I've made a plan, I'm going to buy the ring, so on and so forth. And then someone tells you this, that's just not something you want to hear. But I feel like on the flip side, it really depends on the person that they're talking to. So like if someone told that to someone who had decided that, but then changed their mind after hearing that, to me, it feels like they're not really ready to begin with. Like,
Yeah.
you're letting this person influence your life,
Mm-hmm.
even after you've made a plan and tried to figure out like what you wanted with this woman.
Right. I completely agree with you on that. I do think that, and not just in marriage itself, but I feel like in any big decision, there's always going to be people who say, don't do it, or this is my experience and I hated it, or something like that. Like, you should be within yourself confident enough that like, okay, I accept your opinion. However, what you're saying isn't really going to determine how I feel about my next move. But thank you so much for offering your words of wisdom, if you will, and let us move on. Mm-hmm. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, well, now he said it, so now I don't know if I really should. Like, I don't think, then, like you said, you really weren't ready to make that next step. You really weren't ready to jump.
Right.
So
I think it really all goes back to like how the person was raised too, like who they had in their life, like who were their role models, who were their strong male figures, that their mothers or aunts or whoever instill these values in them to make them this strong, confident person, to go after what they want, to know what they want, to make plans for their future. And if they didn't have that, then that person could be easily influenced by that person. If they didn't grow up seeing successful marriages or relationships, and then someone out of just like randomly comes along and is like, nope, don't do it, bruh. Like, yeah. I had this lady and she was, don't do it. You could be like,
Right. But I will say at the end of the video, when I finally watched the whole thing, he was saying that there were some points that he feels like some people should be making as opposed to, which were like, well, do you have a life plan? Do you have a family plan? Like how are you going to do it? And I do agree that probably does need to be talked about a little bit more when it comes to marriage. Like, okay, so maybe the conversation should go, I didn't like it, but okay, if you are going to do it, here's how to do it. Here's how to move it. Or if I were to do it differently, I would have done it like this. I do think that those conversations need to be had more, because I think as a whole, no one ever really does talk about what the business of marriage is. Like, okay, so this is where we are day one when we're walking down the aisle. Where do we plan to be 10 years from now? Where do we plan, and so on and so forth. Everyone's just like, well, we'll see what happens. And like, they just go for it. And it's like, but there's actually so much more stuff, because at that point you're combining bank accounts. Allegedly, you're combining like a whole lifestyle. How are you going to function? How are you guys going to move? Are two people going to work together? Are you going to, like that kind of thing? I think those conversations do need to be had a lot more. But what are your thoughts, Darren?
I think the part that bugged me most about that video was the fact that he was like, so women, just so you know, like, keep in mind that there are men out here that are telling younger men like not to get married. And my thoughts are like, you at some point you're an adult, so you need to figure out like how to think for yourself. There are so many women that tell us as young women, like, watch out for these kind of men, don't do this, don't do that, and we have to sift through that. There is no grace for us. There is no like, oh, I understand that you probably had it rough, being the lowest on the totem pole and all, being Black women. Like, I get that it's probably rough for you. No, people are like, okay, you got to deal with that. So I just feel like, yeah, people are telling you stuff. I get it, but are you grown or are you not? Like, are you going to
Right.
learn yourself or are you not? And I don't really have any like sympathy or patience for people who make excuses for the way that they live their lives. Like, you make those decisions. If you want to get married, get married. If you don't. And behind it, stand by that, and whatever. Like, there's nothing anybody else can do. But if someone, to your point, Marissa and Mackenzie, like, if you could be swayed, you didn't really want to do it anyway. Like, if you really about it, it's gonna be like, okay, thanks, like you guys said, and I'm gonna continue to go ahead and marry this person.
Right.
Like, thanks.
No, yeah,
Right.
take it with a grain of salt. It's just like I appreciate your opinion. That's one
Mm-hmm.
story. That's not my story. I'm still gonna do what I feel like is best for me.
Right. Because I mean, like you said, Darian, women from birth are literally told what not to do, what to do, how to find the right man. That's not the right man. Yada yada. Like even all the way up until like you're literally at your own reception. People are still gonna be like, "Are you sure?" Like,
You're gonna hear people.
right. Like it happens all the time. Like, and it's not just with marriage. It's also with kids, like family. Like, I feel like outside family always has an opinion about your life. That's just gonna happen no matter what. Like, it's just gonna happen. So you can either be confident in your own self and your own decisions and take, like you said, with a grain of salt, anything else or outside opinions, or you can allow them to affect you and then ultimately miss out on happiness because you were swayed. Like, but the other point that I had was I don't like how when he was like, if I wasn't married, I would be out here doing all this stuff. And it's like, first of all, he's like, if I wasn't married, my business wouldn't be where it's at. I'm like, well, first of all, I'm a big advocate for fill your own cup. Like, so if you wanted a business, you should grow yourself. You should just generally want to be a better person, that kind of thing. Or if you see yourself somewhere in the future with $1 million or something like that, like, you should be doing everything you can to grow, mature, make the moves that you need to make. And then when a woman comes along, she adds to that success, or she adds to your happiness. It shouldn't be like, well, if I didn't have her, I would be in the gutter. Like, no, it's like, I was already growing, and then she came along and she just made it better. Like, so the whole concept of, well, if I was out here, if I wasn't married, I'd be out in Miami, I'd be in Atlanta, I'd be talking to these girls. I'd be like, no one's saying that you can't go out and have fun and have a life when you're married. Shoot, if you want to go somewhere, maybe take your wife with you, like, or maybe she's doing her own thing. Like, it's okay. Like, the concept that, like, when marriage happens, nothing else can happen, and that's all it is. There's nothing more. Like, I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's a true statement. But I don't know.
I would say, kind of on the flip side, I feel like what he was saying was that he was all these things before he met his wife. I mean, he met her, he made him want to grow and do all these things and grow his business and become successful, become a better person, and grew into that in knowing her. Not so much that if he didn't do it on his own and then met it with her, which I still think that's a valid point. I feel like somebody should at least be some type of growth, before they decide to get married. But there are cases, I feel like, when a man meets a woman, in my case, my parents, my dad was not in that case to get married or really have a family or what have you, and at least from my understanding. And then he met my mom, and it was rocky, but then he was like, man, this is a wonderful woman, like, I better get it together or else I'm gonna lose something great. And so I think the situations are different depending upon the person, but I think in our generation now, we want someone who is already at least a little bit established, whether that's financially, mentally, physically taking care of yourself. We don't want just some random dude to just be like, just flailing out here, just wandering through life, not having any direction or something like that. But I don't think they have to be like fully established in themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because that growth can come from another person and vice versa. If I might not be fully like reached my true potential, but if I meet my spouse, he may bring that out of me that I didn't know I could reach.
I think it's tough because I think a lot of people change for someone, and in that case, that change doesn't stick. So it's different if you're, because he was saying like, this, like I'd be going out and getting it for my family now, like I got a family to feed, blah blah blah, and like, so I guess my question to him would be, did this spark growth within you, and you were like, man, I want to do this for me because this has opened my eyes to new things, or is it I want to do this for them? Because I think there's a difference. Like, are you doing it for someone else, or did someone else inspire you to want to do it for you, and then they benefit from that, and it's like this whole thing? Does that make sense? Because
Yeah,
like a lot of people get in a situation and they're like, oh, this person's like on level 10 and I'm on level 6, so in order for me to stay with them, I got to get to level 10. Okay, is it about them or is it about you? Are you like, you're at level 10, I know I can get to level 10, I'm about to get to level 10 for me. Hopefully we stay together, because then we'll be on whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, what is the driving force for you to better yourself? Is
Right.
it someone else or is it you?
Yeah, and then it kind of goes back to that conversation. Remember at your dad's birthday party, that guy who was like, yeah, marriage is tough because you're literally combining two people's lives together. And some people, when that happens, feel like they are losing themselves. And a lot of women mention that. And it's like, well, if you, I do believe that there probably is some aspect of that. And I think that may happen. However, or it runs the risk of that happening. However, you have to be able to fill your own cup and be able to have whether a drive or a good sense of self or something like that, so those things don't happen. Because if something were to happen to your spouse and you would feel completely lost or something like that, like that obviously wouldn't be the best thing. So just being able to, I don't know, being able to still have that own personal growth, or seeing that like this person does make me better, but I have a drive to make myself better anyway. So it's like all thumbs up from here. You know what I'm saying?
I think the change of your self dynamic changes over time. So I feel like, to your point, Darian, yes, the person should totally want to change for themselves initially, like, because let's say y'all get engaged and then something happens and then you all break up, like, where does that growth go? Does it just go down the toilet? Like, does it disappear into thin air and now you're back at level 6 when you were at a 10, but you were only a 10 because you were with her? So I do think that should happen on your own. However, once you're married, committed, and you're starting your family, I feel like that changes who you want to do it for, because then once kids are involved, you're wanting to do it for them. It's not about you anymore. It's making sure that your life is set on a course for them, and that they can have food on their table and they can go to school and have clothes on their backs and what have you. And that's what I thought about. I watched the episode of This Is Us this week. I don't know if you saw it. That one of the things that Randall talked about with Malik, and he was saying, he does this every day for his daughters, like both of them. They're getting up, they're learning, they're going to their jobs, they're trying to make a future for themselves now because it's about their kids. So I feel like, yeah, initially the change is for you. You got to do it for you if you're the only one that you have to worry about. And then once it changes, then your lifestyle and what you're doing it for changes.
But so to your point on This Is Us, and we'll keep this piece short because I know Mackenzie has no idea what we're talking about.
Okay, I don't watch This Is Us. I'll try and chime in if I come up with something.
Something he said was, Malik was like, I do this for my daughter. So at the end of the day, she comes first. And if I gotta, step back, or if not necessarily like my goals, but if she comes first, so if something that I'm doing has to suffer because of that, then that's just what it is. And Randall was like, don't ever dim your light, or, make your dreams smaller for her. You need to make them bigger
For her.
for her. Not necessarily for her, but like make them bigger. Not in spite of her.
Because of her?
Yeah, maybe because of her, maybe that's what it was. And so I think it's and I think this is a sticky one because none of us have kids, so we really don't have firsthand experience on what it's like to have kids and like how to live a life when you have kids. But I have seen a lot of women put themselves on the back burner for their kids. My kids come first, and my dreams and my goals suffer because of that. And I think while that can make a great mom a lot of the time, your kids see that too. Like they see that you don't have an identity outside of your kids, or they see that maybe you put your stuff on hold for them. And that's obviously like a mother's decision, whatever. But I think there's a very delicate balance of, are you doing amazing things because you want your kids to see that? Or are you putting your kids first because you feel like that's most important, and like your stuff can get done when it gets done? And this is like a total tangent. So anyway, but yeah.
Well, I do think that is a very valid point. I mean, I like you said, there's only so much that we can say when it comes to children. None of us have them, so we don't know what that lifestyle is like. But I mean, I do think that bringing it back to relationships, like I think it kind of the same thing. Like some women kind of make their lives about their man, and it's like, and then they have their own personal regrets, or they get into a marriage and they completely lose themselves because of that. And it's like, there's regrets here. I wanted to do things, but I couldn't because we were all about you. You're all about growing your business. You were all about doing this thing. And it's like, but I wanted to do more things. And then maybe that causes like a pitfall of the marriage. And it's like, that's why I'm like, you have to be able to know what you want, be okay with the fact that it may be different than your spouse, and be able to grow that comfortably within your relationship.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Marissa.
Just to quickly add on to that, I also feel like your spouse should encourage you on your dreams. Mm-hmm. So it's like you all are married, you're what have you, you've started your life together. If you have an idea, you want a business, you want to start, you have your business you have, but you want to grow it, you want to do more things with it, your spouse should be like, yeah, what can we do what can I do to help you? Like, what are we going to do together to make sure we both succeed in this? Like, you want to do this, let's do it. Like, whatever. You don't want to do it, okay, what's next? What are we doing next? Just having that flexibility between the two. But go ahead, Darian.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with what we were talking about, but I think it'll spark good conversation. Have you ever lost yourself in a relationship, or even like getting to know somebody, like you start to maybe do things that you wouldn't normally do, you start to change maybe some of your patterns, and how did you get out of that? How did you catch that? Or did you catch it?
I'm going to say, well, yes and no. I wasn't in a relationship with the person, but we were, I guess, as you would say, talking, whatever that is. It was an entanglement. No,
that's a whole other podcast.
Episode 2. No. I was in high school, and this gentleman was a transfer student. So of course everyone's like, "Oh my God, who's the new guy? What's interesting about him?" But we had all our classes together, so naturally I got to know him through classes and what have you. But he was like totally like different of what I'd ever met. Like his taste in music was way out there. Like he liked metal. Like who likes metal? But he was this very earthy individual, very natural, and I'm a diva, I'm a glam, I'm like totally out there. I like to dress up, I like to wear heels. So we were totally polar opposites. But there was something about him that I was drawn to. So everything that he liked, I decided to like it. It was like, you like metal, I'm gonna listen to metal. Like, you like this type of clothing, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shop there. Like, I felt myself just doing things that I didn't even like just so this guy could be interested in me, you know? And I found myself like lost in it. I wrote so much about it. I had notebooks just filled of journal entries about him because I was conflicted. It was like, do I continue to do things for this guy who really doesn't actually seem that interested in me to try to make him interested in me, or leave the situation and maybe risk losing someone? It was really hard for me, and we went back and forth for like a year and a half in school. And then some people got involved in the drama because my high school was really small, so naturally, everyone knows everyone's business. um, but it wasn't like until there was a picture of us that emerged on Facebook, and everyone was like, oh, look at you guys and what have you, and it was cute or whatever. And he was like deterred by it. He was totally like, no, take it down, we can't have this out here. And I was sitting here like, what's the issue? Like, we've been doing all this stuff together, I've been trying to get to know you, I've been doing all this stuff for you. And that was like the eye opener for me. It was like, no, he's not there, he doesn't want this. And I was like, fine. But it wasn't until it was like a public situation for me that I was truly like, okay, this isn't working. Where am I? Let me go back to my roots. What do I like?
Mm-hmm.
I ignored all my friends. They're like, girl, no, that's not it. That's not for you. Don't do that. And I was like, no, I need to open my eyes. I need to see new things, like, new experiences. And it was like, do you really need new experiences? Like, you really need to listen to metal? Like, you like Jill Scott and he like, I don't know. Like, so, yeah, that was, I love myself now. And I will never do that again. But it was an emotional time, traumatically. There was so much emotionally going on with me that my parents didn't even know. It was just, I kept so much to myself and wrote it all down. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I have lost myself in a relationship, and it took obviously breaking up to really see that I had lost myself in a relationship. And I think that I feel like women are so ingrained and I think there is now currently a shift in this concept, but I think we're so ingrained to like not necessarily provide, but like maybe I don't know if maintain interest is the word, but like it's like, well, if he likes metal, like you said, then like, oh, then maybe I should try and take an interest in the metal. Or if he likes shopping at Banana Republic, like I need to start buying things from Banana Republic. Like I feel like that concept of, and maybe it's a word that you hate, Varian, but submission of like, I feel like that concept of like wanting to be the perfect or the perfect ideal girlfriend or possible mate, if you will, for the person you're interested in. And I think that is like the slow decline of losing yourself. And looking up and you're like, actually, I hate all these clothes that I just bought from this place because I do not shop there. And I think now everything is kind of shifting from that old concept to like, I am enough. What I bring to the table is enough. Making space for yourself. Like, and I think from the relationship where I felt like I did lose myself to today, I think I have grown completely. Like I said, learning that I am enough. What I have and what I can bring to the table is enough. And then when I'm at the table pushing people so I can make my space in my room and being okay with that. And I think that kind of is the shift that is happening in our current climate, but it's going to take a while to get there, because I do think there is a lot of like, just whatever he wants to do is what we'll do. Where where do you want to eat? I'll eat whatever you're having. Like that kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know.
Yes, I have definitely lost myself in a relationship. And what's crazy is like it's so hard to see it while you're in it. Like
Yeah,
it's so,
you can't.
and that's why you really have to be like so self-aware that you like constantly check in with yourself, especially with um, relationships, because you'll like look up and be like, wow, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
And basically what happened with me, like it took me, I mean, like Mackenzie, getting out of the relationship and being like, okay, that is not like that. Who was that? Like, how did I get there? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, growing. It takes a lot. It like takes a lot of effort to like unpack that and then figure out how you're going to be self-aware moving forward so that it doesn't happen again. Because it's so easy to like start talking to somebody and they say they like something, but like you don't really like it. So like, do you want to say you don't like it or do you not want to say you don't like you have to be
Yeah.
confident that like I am who I am
Mm-hmm.
and like, it's not the end of the world. But I feel like there is a how do I say like a history of that. Like at one point women kind of had to do that because like they had to
Yeah.
do like anything, like open a bank account or get a house or whatever. Like you had to have
Mm-hmm.
so you didn't really have the freedom to be like, I am who I am, take it or leave it. Cause it's like, you kind of needed it. So
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like we're just now getting to the point where we're like, actually, like I don't have to like what you like. And we can
Right.
still be together, but it's
Right.
that I'm taking that risk of, is he gonna ghost me if I don't
Mm-hmm.
like, is he going to lose interest if I'm not feeling him doing X, Y, and Z? Like how
Right.
did, and I guess that ties into like self-worth and being okay with losing
Yeah.
someone if they don't like that. But it's tough. Like, I mean, that's not easy, especially in the moment when you're really feeling somebody and you're like, I think they're feeling me, not really like X, Y, and Z. Do I tell them? Do I not? Like, dating. And that's a whole nother podcast,
That's
I'm
a
sure.
whole nother podcast.
But yeah.
Any other thoughts on the actual video, ladies?
I know we like got so sidetracked. Um, no, I feel like we pretty much hit
Kind of
every
everything.
like bottom line, be a man about yours and
Because we're going to be women about ours. So.
right, because you have to. So like do the work and figure out what you want to do and don't let anybody sway you or surround yourself with people that you
With,
trust opinions. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
That great step uncle that comes around
That
once
came to the party and you ain't seen him in
exactly
10 years.
Mary been
Waddling in. Like,
right, like him telling you like, oh nephew,
maybe he's not the sign that you needed.
right.
Like,
although I do think there's still growth in like if someone heard that and then that made them think and decide and reflect and look at their life and see if they're really ready to. I feel like there's growth in that too, because at least they didn't jump into something that they really didn't want to do. Because then you get into them, and then that resentment comes into play. Like, I didn't want to do this, but you were talking about marriage and weddings, and you're talking about your friends getting married, so I felt obligated to, or whatever the case may be.
Right, but then noticing that, seeing that, and being like, yeah, this is not for me, as opposed to, well, I'm going to do it because we want, like, being confident with whatever you decide, whether it is going to be getting married to the girl or not getting married to the girl. Like, just be confident and not allow too many extra outside influences really affect your decision either way, because you're strong for yourself.
Yeah, no, I would respect that even more if like he was just like, hey, my uncle or whoever told me this, and I'm not deciding it because he's had however many failed marriages, but his words make me really think about it and reflect on where my life is and where our life is together, and this is not something I feel like we should do right now. I'm not saying that we have to break up or what have you. We could still be engaged, but maybe just push off the marriage part a little longer. Maybe let's marinate on it a couple of years. Let's continue to build a plan, something like that. I would respect that more than just being like, damn, well, this don't seem like a good idea. I'm out. Like,
Okay, so I have one more question. We don't want to make this super long, but like here. So how do y'all feel about waiting a long time to get married? Like you're in a relationship with somebody, and is there like a certain amount of time you feel like they should know, like, hey, I want to marry you? Or like, what are your thoughts on that? Is there a time limit? Is there like you don't even want to get married? Do they need to ask you by a certain time? Like, what is it?
Ooh, that just made this way longer. I think, see, I feel like that goes to the whole dating with intention type of thing, because I feel like if we're in this for the goal to be married, or like, I feel like then my plan and your plan should line up, hence why we're dating type of thing. So I mean, I'm not saying like we wait 2 weeks and then next thing we're walking down the aisle, like, no, but I'm just saying like, yeah, within, if we're truly having honest conversations with each other about where we see this relationship going, why we're getting into this relationship together kind of thing, then yeah, I don't think having like a 10-year relationship prior to being married is within what I would want, especially if I'm picking you and you're picking me and we've already kind of had the goal of being married at some point. No, not against anybody who does choose to date somebody for 10 years. Like I know a lot of people who still aren't even married, but they have been together for 20, 25, 30 years. So, it's just, I feel like, I don't know if necessarily like the ultimatum or the thing is the word, but like if we are being honest with ourselves and we are on the same track, then I think you really shouldn't need an ultimatum, because that conversation should be open and we should already be like roughly on the same page about it, if that makes sense.
So there's a show, actually, I saw the trailer for. I don't know if it's on Netflix or something, but it's literally a show about women who want to get married to
you told me about that show.
Yeah, but like their boyfriends don't want to get married yet. So it's like a whole show about them like going through therapy, I guess, to like figure out like what's going on. Or some, I don't know, something of that sort. And I'm just like, I'll be darned if I'm on some show talking about the fact that I want to get married to you and you're not ready to get married to me.
Right, because it's like that, then y'all are not on the same page. Y'all are not, and that's fine. That's cool. Like, let's just dead it, and so I can go find the page that I need to turn to.
Yeah, I agree that there's not any like set time. Like I need to be engaged by this day, married by this day. Like I don't feel that way. But I agree with you, Mackenzie. Like there should be some sort of communication that we're like already talking about. Like, okay, like I could see myself marrying you. And if I'm dating you and dating with intention, I'm dating because I see myself marrying you. So at any point that changes, I'm out the relationship for real, because at that point then it's because at this point I don't need to like date just to date. When I was, and granted, like I'm not old by any means, but I don't want to like date just to date. Like I don't. Time could be better spent doing other things. So
right,
that means I see myself marrying you, and if I see myself marrying you, but we're not talking about marriage, what
are we doing?
What are we doing? Let's talk about it. What are your thoughts? What's your timeline? You know what I mean? What do you want to do? I'll tell you what I want to do. We can figure out what works for both of us. It doesn't necessarily have to be this like closed conversation. I'm just sitting here waiting for you to propose and like hoping that you do any day. Like, let's talk about it. I feel like that's so like taboo kind of that people don't really talk about. But I feel like it's a conversation that needs to be had, because what if I'm not ready to get married, but I do want to marry you, but I'm not ready to do that yet. I want to voice that so you know what's up. So you don't ask me to marry you and I say no or not yet. you're caught off guard. It's just, there's so many things that can happen if you don't talk about it. I just feel like talking about it eliminates those problems.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel, Marissa?
Yeah, I don't think I need to have like a deadline on when to get married. If I'm in a relationship with someone, it's just kind of like we're living our lives, we're planning together. Whenever we both feel it's the right time, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I mean, I have on the flip side seen couples where the woman was like, "Hey, this is my life, and I want to be married by this time. And if you ain't on hopping on that train, then you gotta go." And he was like, "Well, I guess I better catch the train." And he caught the train, and now they're married and they got 2 kids. So uh, there are instances like that, but that worked for them. You know, that's not going to work for everybody, and that's fine. But I feel like what Mackenzie said, if I have this plan for myself and you're not there, or you don't want to get married and we're not meeting each other, then leave so I can, you know, find that person who is there. You
Get
know,
on that page with
who
someone else.
right? Let me get to that page. You know? And it's harder for us, I feel, because communication is so hard in dating right now for our generation, especially with COVID, you know, because you are not out there physically meeting people like we were. You know, we have to meet them online through dating apps or Facebook or Instagram. And so it makes getting to know that person harder. You know, I'm learning to date with intention because that's something I just never did. I would meet someone, we'd hang out, and whatever happens, happens. And 9 times out of 10, my heart was broken. So it was like, now I know what I want, and I'm going to communicate that to you. And if you're freaked out by it, or like, that's not what you want, then I'm just swipe. Like, I'm like, I'm over it. I've had dudes I've talked to on Hinge, and they're like, "Oh, what are your intentions with Hinge? Like, why are you on here?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm looking for someone to build with and grow with." And their response is like, "Oh, well, I'm just looking to hang out with people." And I'm like, "Okay, if I wanted to hang out with someone, I'd call my friends." Like,
Okay.
like that's cool and all, but like that's not really what I'm looking for at the moment. I've hung out. I've done the hangouts.
Literally, that's how I feel too. Like, I've
I'm
been there.
over hanging out.
I got
Chill is
friends.
dead. I
got
can
friends.
chill at my house. I'm totally fine, like doing that alone, you know. So it's difficult, and especially now because we're not out.
Yeah.
That we don't have that face-to-face communication where you could see the intentions in their eyes. If you ask them that question in person, you know, what are your intentions with this? You could tell if they were straightforward with you, or if they were kind of like, looking off to the side.
Just out here to be out here.
I just, you know, I want someone I can eat the wit and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, no. Why don't you call your homeboys for that? Because I'm not the one.
And guys love to like say that line, like, "Oh, I'm just trying to like hang out, see where it goes." Like, no, bro, I
You
don't
don't
want to.
want to hang out and see where it goes. You want to Netflix and chill.
Yes, because when you just see where it goes, it never goes.
It never goes
Anywhere.
anywhere. Then I've got like 50 million different messages that have never been answered because we saw where it went and it went down the drain.
It literally. I'm not interested in that. Let's just go with the flow. Like, no. Are you in a place where you could be in a relationship? Yes or no?
Right.
We don't have to date tomorrow.
That's totally fine. If you want to hang out with people, I'm not the one for you. Like, let me go ahead and swipe, and you can find a girl who wants to hang out with you, because I'm not it.
Yeah, because I've been there. Like, I haven't always wanted a serious relationship. I've been in a place where I just wanted to hang out, Netflix and chill, whatever. Like, so that's where you are. Just, as I said, be a man about yours and just say what you want. Let me, whether I want to entertain that or whether I don't.
Yeah.
I think the struggle for us though is that as women, I mean, we mature a whole lot faster, you know, and given these current times, we've had to do it even more so. So it's it's hard for us because we're in that moment where it's like, I want to find someone, I want to be in a long-term relationship where I eventually get married, have a family, etc., etc. And guys our age right now are probably like, I'm just trying to like
Chill.
money. I just want to get the PS5. Like, I don't really.
Yes.
So it's hard finding someone within our generation.
Right.
So I've extended my little age group of 30s, not extending past 32, but someone who seems like they're more established in their career or lifestyle. I don't mind going a little higher in age, unless I find someone who's my age who really got it together and knows what they want. But I feel like that's really rare to find right now.
But I do think that this brings, I guess, a good transition to our possible next podcast topic, which would be the video of the couple talking about, you know what I'm talking about, Darian?
Yeah.
So do you guys have any other thoughts on the topic for today? If not, we can kind of.
No, I'm
I
good.
think if all hearts and minds are clear.
Namaste. So I guess this concludes our first MDM talk. Please let us know what you think about our thoughts, our opinions. If you have your own opinions, leave some down in the comments, like and subscribe.
And subscribe.
I'm just going to start pointing into different locations to determine where we're going to put it. And also, if you find a video on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever that you want us to talk about in the future, please feel free to add us on MDM Talk on Instagram. And we even have a Gmail account as well that you could send those links to us, and we will deliberate and talk about those possible topics as well. But other than that, peace and hair grease.